What is up, guys? It is the Founder here, and welcome to my video. In the background, you're going to be watching Modern Warfare 3's Domination on Village, but that's not what I want to talk about right now. I want to talk about school, because I am just absolutely sick of school, and I'm sure a lot of you guys feel the same way. You know, school's coming to an end. We're pretty much at the end of the year. Some of you might already be out. If you're already out, screw you. Anyways, you know, I kind of want to talk about, though, the system, like how it's set up, mainly talking about high school and then how that relates to colleges, how that affects colleges. So, you know, I do find many flaws in the way that our school system is set up right now. And I'm going to start out with the courses, because I find a lot of flaws in the way that the courses are set up. Because, you know, most high schools, they require 4 years of math, 3 years of lab science, 2 years of language, 4 years of English, and 3 or 4 years of history. I think it's 4. I don't know, maybe 3. But anyways, you know, the relevancy of these courses is practically non-existent. Or, well, not necessarily the courses in themselves, because, like, you know, some people are going to be actuaries, and if you're going to be an actuary, math would be very important. So it is slightly arbitrary. But, you know, it's still the material that you're learning then is still completely useless, because, like, even if you're an actuary, you're probably not going to use the same math that you learned in high school in an actuary type job. You're going to be using the math that you learn in college. So, you know, a lot of it is just kind of basis for what you're going to be, but or for what you're going to learn later. But even then, you know, a lot of it is still going to be pretty much useless. Let's take math, for example. Actually, I'm going to go through all of them. So, math, you know, my dad works for an insurance company, so he uses math a lot, especially considering he spent a very large portion of his time in that insurance company in the underwriting department, which is kind of their math department outside of the actuaries. And, you know, when I would have problems with math homework, I'd be like, hey, Dad, can you help me with this? And he's like, yeah, sure, what's it on? And I tell him what it's on. I'll be like, it's on trigonometry, it's on quadratics, it's on matrices. And he'll be like, oh, yeah, I remember that from whatever year of high school or whatever year of college. So then I was like, cool, so you can help me. And then I'd show him the homework, and he'd be like, yeah, I don't know how to do this. So I think the reason why he didn't know how to do it was because he doesn't use it in his job now. It's not a skill that you would use, like, in a regular job. I can almost guarantee that no matter what job you have, matrices, probably you're not going to use them. And then, you know, you have your 3 years of lab science. That's biology, chemistry, and physics. So biology, then, is pretty much the only one that I could see having some relevancy to jobs later on. And even then, depending on what your job is, it might not be relevant at all. Because, so, biology, you know, I know a guy who's in college right now. He's a freshman in college, and he is majoring in biology, I'm pretty sure, because he wants to be a dentist. And for some reason, I don't fully understand it, but for some reason biology is a big portion of dentistry. Anyways, I guess it's with the anesthetics and something. Well, not only that, but I mean learning the anatomy of the body and face and the teeth and all that. But that's aside from the point. So, you know, their biology is kind of useful, but I don't really see that many cases where you have to know about the laws of physics, where you have to know about all the elements on the periodic table, because it's not like if you don't know the laws of physics, they cease to apply to you, because that would mean, like, somebody who doesn't know about gravity, aka like really young people, like babies and infants, they just float, because, you know, you don't know it, therefore it doesn't apply to you, so then, you know, you don't have gravity. Well, then that'd be interesting. You know, also, like, if you didn't know all the elements of the periodic table, then they don't exist to you, so there'd be no matter. I mean, it just doesn't work that way. I mean, it's not something that you have to know in order to live, and it's not really something that is that applicable in jobs outside of being a chemist or a physicist. So then you have language. You know, language, or when I say language, I mean foreign language. Language is, you know, that actually is something that's rather useful. Well, when I say useful, I don't exactly mean that you're necessarily going to use it that much later on in life. You might not have to speak Spanish a whole bunch at your job, or whatever your job may end up being. but you might not have to speak Spanish all that much, but or whatever language you learn in high school. But if you put bilingual or trilingual or even more on a job application, that's something that employers would look for and something that they would find very impressive, and therefore would probably be more likely to hire you. So then it's definitely useful to getting your foot in the door, but it's not necessarily a skill that you would need to use, although it definitely helps if you're traveling abroad, and there are a lot of jobs where that happens. So, it can be a very useful skill. Again, a lot of this is arbitrary, depending on your career path. But, most of the time, it's not really that useful in itself, but it is helpful for school, for job purposes. And then you have English. And the grammar portion of it, okay, yeah, that is definitely important. You don't want to go into a job interview and sound like a complete idiot because you don't know the correct verb tense for the verb to be. So then you're like, well, I is doing this. No, you don't want to say something like that. So, so the grammar portion of it, yeah, that's important. But then the literature portion of it, and novels and Shakespeare and crap, I can't even remember the lady who did Frankenstein. But, that kind of stuff, that's not, I don't see that as being important that much, really. Pretty much the only thing that I get out of that is learning different literary tools, which helps in writing, but unless I'm planning to be a journalist or a novelist, it doesn't really help me that much. And then you have history. And history, it's just really not that useful for any job outside of a historian. It's not like you're going to be working some kind of cubicle job for a bank or for whatever you end up doing. And, in the interview process for your job, they're going to be like, so what was Napoleon Bonaparte's birthday? And you're not going to have to, know that kind of stuff. And so it's not necessarily all that useful, although I do find it very interesting. So I tend to, not to sound conceited about it, I tend to do pretty well in that class. But, it's not really that useful. It's just interesting for me anyways. It might be really boring to other people, but that's a matter of personal opinion. But then, I don't really care about history because, it's not that I don't care. I don't view it as negatively as I view pretty much every other subject in school just because it actually interests me. Art. Ooh, okay. Art is, it's a natural skill anyways for the most part. And if you're going to go into an art job, I got two things to say to you. One, you'd probably specialize in that in college anyways. And two, the best of luck to you. Now, notice earlier I said I was sick of school. That's true. I'm not, on the other hand, sick of learning. I love learning things. I absorb things pretty well, and a lot of things interest me. Politics, economics, history, astronomy, things of that nature. What I'm sick of is the general education system set up in high school. Everybody's taking the same courses, and the majority of the material is worthless. I think that high school should be set up more like junior and senior year of college, which is when you're done with all of your gen ed classes. And, I know that there are a lot of issues that would come from making it exactly like junior and senior year of college, but that's why I said more like college. And students should be able to pick a field of interest and study that more rather than wasting time in an art class, even if they suck at art. Or, somebody else might want to take that art class rather than having an econ class because they don't want to end up like one of those guys at the NYSE with their little pads trying to shout over everybody else in the room. And, if their interests change, they can change what they study in school. People do this all the time in college, so I see no problem with doing it in high school. And, plus this gives the added advantage of being even more accurate with your major in college. You're not going to switch back and forth as much in college. Because then you've had time to kind of try out your crazy ideas because, everybody has, their crazy dream of what they want to be when they grow up. It's from, when they were a little kid, and everybody has those, and you get to try those out as majors or field of interest in high school. And then if you don't want to do it, then you can go to more, standard, reasonable job. But, if that's still what you want to do, then you can keep majoring in that once you get to college. And you're not going to have all those back and forths in between different majors. And I'm in no way saying that if you have a crazy dream job, don't go for it. That's not what I'm saying. If you have, some kind of dream job, then go for that. If you don't want to be a cubicle 9-to-5 job worker, then don't be. I know I won't. I'm trying my hardest to make sure that I'm not a cubicle 9-to-5 job. So you do what you want to do. And if you But I'm just saying that, maybe a school system that's centered more around a student's interest would not only supply more useful information for once they graduate and finish school at whatever level they may decide they're done with school, but it would also be much more interesting. I mean, wow, imagine that. I mean, I can almost guarantee that the academic results would be better, because when you have something that actually interests the kids, then they're going to pay much more attention, and they're actually going to want to do their homework. Then they're going to want to do the classwork if it's something that interests them. So I think we're coming to the end of the video. So if you like this video, go ahead, scroll down, hit the like button. If you didn't like it, though, hit the dislike button and leave a comment below telling me why. And if you like my videos, hit subscribe. And if you have any ideas or anything you want me to talk about, just leave a comment below and I'll check it out. I really do appreciate you guys, my subscribers and everything. You mean a lot to me, and thanks. I'll see you next video.